Okay, Mayor, we're ready.
All right, good evening, everyone. I'm calling to order the City Council meeting for the City of Hayden, Idaho. It's the 8th of July, approximately 5:01 p.m. May we get a roll call of the council members present?
Council President Roeder?
Yes.
Councilmember Schaefer?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Dupree?
Yep.
Okay, we have a quorum. Matt, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
Republic
which is stands
under God,
nation under God,
liberty and justice for all.
liberty and justice for all.
Justice for all. Amen.
About 3 times on.
Okay, are there any additions or corrections to the agenda tonight? Okay, I'm hearing none. We will roll into consent calendar, which consists of approval of June 24, 2025 City Council meeting minutes, approval of June 26, 2025 special City Council meeting minutes, approval of Northern Lake Security and Investigations Incorporated Agreement for City Event Security Services, approval of change order number 5 with Big Sky Construction for H6 Force Main Project, approval of change order 4 with Big Sky Construction for H6 Force Main Project, approval of change order 3 with Simcoe Construction for H6 Lift Station Project, acceptance of Marmon Properties LLC dedication of rights of way and grant of easements, approval of electric service extension agreement with Avista Utilities for H6 Lift Station, ratification of June payroll, ratification of bills for payment, and bills for payment. Are there any questions on the consent calendar? Hearing none, may we get a motion, please?
I move that we accept the consent calendar as read.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any comment on the motion made? May we get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Schaefer?
Yes.
Council President Roeder?
Yes.
Councilmember Dupree?
Yep.
And Councilmember White?
Yes.
And Matt, thank you for leading the Pledge of Allegiance. Abby, do we have any visitor or public comments?
There are none.
Okay, for the record, there are none. We will move on to our one and only action item tonight of unfinished business, which is Hayden Canyon Park Master Plan update to the 2040 Parks Master Plan resolution. For the public, this is just an action item to add a park to our parks plan. It is not to discuss details of development of the park. With that, I believe we have a presentation.
Yeah, I'm just going to bring up the map that council was presented. I believe it was 2 meetings ago. And the action tonight, in order for us to move forward, would be to adopt the plan as presented to council as part of the current 2040 master park plan as an addendum to that. So including this plan, that would allow us to engage with the developers of Hayden Canyon on their area of build out that they're required to do as part of the PUD, as well as I believe their annexation agreement. In order to do that, we have to have consensus that this is the plan that we will be working with them on. So what's before you as action tonight would be a resolution to include this plan, master plan, as part of that total parks plan. I'm happy to answer any questions. I feel like we've talked about this enough that it's probably common knowledge about what it is. But if there's anything I missed, I'm happy to do my best to answer those questions.
I
do have one question. Oh, go ahead, Sandy.
No, go ahead, Tom. You're good.
Once this is added to our Parks Master Plan, when does budgeting kick in where the city has to be able to plan for any kind of capital expenditures?
It's somewhat of a loaded question because it assumes that we're going to. At this point, I'm not sure that we have a known plan to do so. I think we'd be working with, go ahead.
Let me be more vague then. When would the city have to plan for spending money dedicated toward this park?
So that would be at the time that there's any improvements made that we accept. And at this point, foreseeably, that would be when we accept the park improvements by the developers after construction.
So what are we looking at? Does anybody have a timeline, or is that to be?
We do not have that timeline. My hope is that the next step after adoption of this plan would be to work with the developers on an agreement of sorts that says what it is they're developing and the plan, the timeframe for which it will be done. And then, of course, that will be brought back for you to accept.
Okay, that's a satisfactory answer for me. Thank you.
Yes, I was going to ask about
More questions, staff?
finances as well. On page 26 and 27, there's a list of expenses. So who are those expenses for?
26 and 27 of this,
That's the cost estimates associated to park construction. So they're estimates, just like all of our planning documents have a capital improvement plan based on known information that you guess kind of a swath of what those costs could be. They might come in less and they might come in more depending on the timeline of when those phases of the park get developed. So
Today's dollars?
pretty close.
is this the slide we're talking about?
No, it was,
It's in their final tech memo that's
Oh,
attached to their document that they're looking at.
but that has some costs there.
And the
Now,
question,
this is
sorry, go ahead, Tom.
I think Councilman White is referring to two tables farther down in the document.
I just don't have that to put on the screen for everybody to see, so.
Got it, okay.
So the question was, when do we pay for those, or when do we?
Who is paying for those lists of costs? It's,
I guess, is it relative to construction or is it relative to maintenance?
it's in the
I didn't have-
Construction. It's relative to
page
construction
26,
costs.
27, and 28 in my packet.
Those are construction costs, aren't they?
Correct.
So those are giving you ideas of what it would cost to construct it. I believe portions of those are being covered by the developer, but not all of them. So
Okay.
if the city were to want to move forward with the other improvements or amenities in the park, then we would have to find the funds to do those if we chose to do.
What is the contractual responsibility of the developer as far as how much of it are they responsible to?
I'm not prepared to talk, I guess, in depth about the agreement that we have with them. And I'd have to go review that to be able to answer that. But as far as if that is helpful for you to make a decision tonight, I would need to know that so we could come back more prepared. This is allowing us to enter into that agreement with them to create this park, regardless of whether they do it, we do it, or somebody else does it.
And for clarification, you have to amend your comprehensive plan so that this can be a part of your, your parks master plan. So you can have this in your CIP so that it's impact fee eligible. This is like step one
Right.
to just make sure that you can utilize, should you choose to spend them. And
'Cause
that's the decision point for
You
you.
have to do this before you can put it in the CIP,
Yeah.
before you can,
Before
yeah.
you can make it impact fee eligible and have it in the methodology.
Right.
And actually, there is money already allocated in the current methodology report for this park, but it didn't have a concept assigned to it. So this concept is giving us opportunity to now line expenditure or money that potentially could come in for impact fees related to the expansion of this park. But the developers are still required to bring some of those amenities forward.
Well, the developers are required to, under their agreements, do base level park.
Do what?
Which
Base
means,
level.
Grass,
which is what's in, there's a base level program already built into your parks master plan. Your parks-
base package construction costs, and that's what I thought I had heard that they were going to do that phase one they would be doing.
I'm not saying base level construction costs. You have in your parks master plan what is adopted as a base level park and what amenities would be in it. That's what they're required to do. It'll come back to you for a choice, so whether or not you want to go beyond that. There's lots of decision points beyond today, but for today's purposes, your parks master plan has to be amended first. So you can get it on the CIP and it can be eligible, which is wholly separate from all the decision points you'll have in the future as to what's actually going to go there.
So this doesn't commit us to any monetary thing, it's just to get the ball rolling.
That's correct.
There's a difference on page 28 on the estimated phase one base package total and estimated future phases total. Both those numbers that you have on the screen are less, and the total is less than what's on page 28. Which is right, that one or this one?
Well, what you're adopting is what's been provided to you. This was just a part of their presentation that they gave a month ago.
So project grand total of 13,547 on this is,
So that's what you'd be adopting.
Yeah.
So this is, again, for the benefit of the two electeds who aren't here tonight, I was trying to give a visual of what we're talking about. So we had to use an older presentation to accomplish that.
And for the public, since it's not on the screen, what Council President Roeder is referring to is page 28 says the estimated phase one base package total is $6,295,411.49.
And I think we're kind of getting into the weeds about where we're at today. Today, we have to decide, is this the park that, after going through the process of engaging the community and creating that plan that you're reviewing tonight, is that consistent with where council's at for adopting so that we can then move forward with engaging the developers? So that's like a following step. So the question tonight is, does this plan represent what the community desired? And if so, then we would adopt it as part of the master plan.
So when I see this $13 million number, I'm sure that if the public sees that number, they're going to go, oh my word. And I just want to be clear, not only to myself, but to the public, that number there isn't something that we don't have the money for that right now. But sometime, and correct me if I'm wrong, sometime in the future, there will be an agreement with the developer to pay part of this number and we, the city, to pay part. So is that, do I get that clear?
Your developer is obligated to do the base level park up to an estimated number that we don't know yet. I mean, these could be close, they might not. You will have a choice, yes, whether or not the city wants to contribute to anything in excess to the base level park.
Okay, so the developer is required to do the base level of the park, and we're not obligated with this to do anything above that.
That's correct.
But we may, if we have money and
Choose to.
if the council decides to do that. Okay, I appreciate that clarity.
The council's going to have multiple more decision points on this particular park in the future, to include whether or not to invest dollars.
And if you were going to invest dollars, theoretically, it would be to promulgate what you've adopted as part of your
Got
budget.
it.
So it's sort of this setting the stage for how we're going to move forward with aligning community interest with actual build out, depending upon where the funds are coming from, whether it be developer, initiative led, or city tax dollars. That's all to be determined later. Now it's just, is this the plan we agree is a representation of what the community wants?
And then I need some clarity on a paragraph and it's on our memo here, second page, says fiscal impact. We can go to that, which is the second paragraph there, and help me with this, please, because I'm having a little trouble with it. It says, construction required as part of the Hayden Canyon development shall be required by the developer. Any additional park construction outside of the Hayden Canyon development would require the city to fund those areas or additional agreements with the developers to expand the park. Why are we bringing a park space outside the development when we're talking about this development?
I think that's linguistic. I think it means outside the developer's obligation, not outside of the development.
Correct.
I think it's just it's a little linguistic confusion.
Well, that's why I'm asking for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Okay. I think.
Council have any more questions on this agenda item? Would council like to make a motion? There's a sample in the memo.
I'll make it easy where is it? If you want me to read it exactly, but I would motion to approve the Hayden Canyon Park Master Plan update to the 2040 Parks Master Plan resolution. Is that good enough?
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second?
Thank you, Tom. Is there any discussion on the motion being made? May we get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember White,
Yes.
Council President Roder,
Yes.
Councilmember Schaefer,
Yes.
and Councilmember DePreez.
Yes.
All right, very good. That is our one item. We're now going to move into reports. Lisa, do you have anything to report or on the city or the calendar?
I just wanted the council to know that I gave you, we're still working on trying to get more responsive financial reports every month to council once we can get our books caught up. So we made it through the 23 audit and now we're leaning right into the 24. So what I have been giving council or attempting to give to council is where do we sit fiscal year relative to what was budgeted? And then you'll start to see this time of year staff projecting where we think we'll be at the end of the fiscal year. So what I've given you here is the May and June numbers, since I missed May last month, and June's estimated monthly end. Now that may change some because we're still closing out June, but you'll start to see where we think we'll land at the end of the year. You'll see it jumps significantly, almost about $10 million there, and that's specific to those major construction projects that are underway currently right now. And then you'll see the 26 budget, that's the draft budget. It's basically what we worked on in workshop. It's showing kind of where we sit right now relative to what will eventually come to council in the form of a budget presentation at the July 29th special council meeting for tentative adoption, and we can move forward with publication. So those numbers are not fixed yet. They're still what I'd call squishy. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but I just wanted to give council kind of a picture of what we look like right now with our June numbers. You'll see right now our general fund revenue to expenses is in the hole, in the red by $752,000, and that's specifically because of the withholding of our revenue sharing with the state. But since we did get our audit up to the state controller's office on or before July 1st, and we expect that the money will be released to us, if anything, between now and the next quarter, at the next quarter.
Will that total of 752, 788 go away then, once we receive that money?
We'll come back into
It'll be,
being
that's the
positive.
amount.
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
You'll see, when we consider general fund 111, or excuse me, the fund 111 with the general fund amount, we're still in the positive. So our interest right now is kind of keeping us afloat. Happy to answer any questions. I just wanted to give council that financial update and know that we're working on a plan to get before you more regularly. I'm happy to answer any questions.
I don't have any questions.
Oh, you muted yourself, Mayor.
Sorry about that. I can't see the back of the room. Do we have a law enforcement report tonight?
Nothing to report.
No.
Nothing to report. Okay, anything from council?
I have one item, Mayor, if I may. Down at the
Sir.
Idaho Association of Cities, there was a presentation given at one point. It's called America 250 in Idaho. And next year will be the 250th anniversary of our great country. And so we can apply for a grant. I think it's $2,500, something like that. And it allows us as a city to plan or get the celebration going for next year. So I would ask that we could go through the process of receiving that money and finding out what we can do with it. But again, it's called America 250 in Idaho.
And Idaho?
In Idaho. And there is a website that you can go to.
Okay.
Okay, we'll check that out. Anything else? Okay, I'll move on to any requests for future agenda items.
I have a couple. And I'm bringing forth the first one because it's that time of year. I'm going to mention the night of December 31st and the 4th of July so you can figure out where it's going. And understanding that it's highly unlikely that there would be any enforcement possibility, but conversations I had with some residents of the city, I'm basically going to bring this forward based on the discussion I had with them. And I keep having to preface it because I understand the situation we're in here, but 4th of July is increasingly seeing extremely loud, large mortars in residential neighborhoods, bottle rockets or whatever you want to call them, being shot up into the air and the like. And a lot of the areas are dry brush trees and the like. And although enforcement would be nearly impossible, the request was some form of an ordinance related to these being shot up into the air that end up on other people's property. If you want to shoot them on your property and they go up and come down on your house or your vehicle or whatever and damage them, that's fine. But the embers that come off of these things could start fires on other people's properties and damage vehicles. So if there's any even desire to go that direction, looking at an ordinance,
I think it's hard to write an ordinance when it's already illegal. Are you suggesting they become illegal?
That's a right preface of what I did. This is something that people brought forward to me, so I want to at least present it to represent their concerns and whatever. And I explained to them, I said the same thing. I said, let's be serious, people. We can write all the ordinances, do all of this and that, but the fact of enforcement is almost non-existent.
So aerial fireworks, as defined by Idaho Code 39-2603, are already illegal. They're defined as aerial fireworks are fireworks designed to be shot into the air and explode or produce visual audible effects at altitude. So any private lighting off or shooting of aerial fireworks is already illegal. It's the enforcement part that, as you have indicated, is difficult.
Yeah.
And other than on the reservations, as you probably all observed, it's also illegal for the sale, possession, or use of those aerial fireworks by the general public.
Yep. It's one of those things. And the second was,
Right, so
go ahead.
Ed, just real quick, because these are things, when you guys tee things up, some of the conversations I had with staff is there's a little ambiguity about what's next. So I guess my first question is, as council, as a body, is this something that we're directing staff to spend any thought on, or do we just kind of say, hey, this is something that's really important to our citizens, but we all know it's not going to be enforceable. We're not going to create a healthy solution for our community, and so therefore we're not going to direct staff to this. What's your direction as a body?
Well, I agree with what you just said. As I said, I'm bringing this forward because it was brought up to me, and I'm short of the individuals who brought up to me coming in and basically saying it. But you're right. You're right. I don't think we need to consume any time of the staff because of the reality of the end result.
Okay, does the rest of the council feel that way?
I do.
Okay, all right, thank you, Ed. And what was the second thing, please?
Based on the comp plan future land use meeting that we had the other day, and in thinking about it, and it seems to be that's what I want to use here, the motivation to only have, a residential, commercial, whatever, and not specifically delineate, what is mixed use or what is mixed residential or what is what. As I look at it, I think if we end up going that direction, I would like to consider, I don't know if a zone text amendment would be the right thing, but to kind of narrow down and specify, in particular, mixed residential, where it can be, because with simple, vague things, my concern is that you'll see people coming into neighborhoods with single-family homes on the block, but somebody might have an acre or a half acre, whatever it is, and with those single-family, single homes on single lots, they'll say, well, it's residential, I want to put four twin homes on here. And I get that's kind of context of neighborhood, but again, it gets down to the situation being very specific so that things aren't, that vagueness and ambiguity is not used to eventually end up with 4 twin homes on a street with all single houses on a single lot. So consider something like that, depending on the direction that the land use designations end up on the future land use map.
So just for clarification, Ed, are you willing to just work this through the process in the next workshop? Because there's going to be a review of code that comes out of the completion of the comprehensive plan? Or are you asking that the next workshop include a map that shows where single-family detached housing can be separate from single-family attached housing? Because those are,
By attached, you mean duplexes, twin homes?
attached means common wall, irrespective of the type. Detached means one house
Right,
with 4
okay,
walls on one
yeah,
lot.
that's my concern, detached housing versus attached or whatever it is.
And so are you looking for some further clarity on the future land use map moving forward that differentiates between single-family attached?
Yes.
Single-family detached?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that sounds like something we'll tackle at the next workshop. Is that what I'm hearing?
Fine with me.
Yeah.
I just think it needs to be addressed.
I was just
Okay.
trying to put some
All right,
planning language around it.
I agree. I appreciate that.
all right. Okay, if we're going to move on then, our next item is, and you'll have to tell me when the room is cleared, is to accept the motion or to make a motion to go into executive session. One, to consider the evaluation, dismissal, or disciplining of, or to hear complaints of charges brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual's agent, and to communicate with legal counsel or the public agency to discuss the legal ramifications of and legal options for pending litigation or controversies not yet being litigated but imminently likely to be litigated.
That's my motion.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. Any discussion? May we get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Schaefer?
Yes.
Councilmember White? Yes. Councilmember DePriest?
Yes.
Council President Roder?
Yes.
Okay, for those in the audience that I cannot see, thank you for coming. Please drive home safely. We are going to executive session.